Yes, folks, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Do please like and subscribe. Listen, on the first Tuesday in the month of March, I am going to do a live broadcast here, so you can tune in and ask me questions live on air. I'll do what I can. It's been suggested that I do a talk. I was thinking about that, an evening with, like ex-Strangeways screw. But I'm not sure about that. Anyway, anybody would like to see that, let me know. I'm going to talk today about the problems of mental health in the prison system. We've recently seen the guy that killed them 3 little girls get sent to Broadmoor for an indefinite period of time. Of course, the families are complaining that he didn't get sentenced to life imprisonment, which, in my personal opinion, he should have been sentenced to life imprisonment and automatically transferred to Broadmoor because he's a paranoid schizophrenic. Yeah, but the courts decided that they were going to commit him to Broadmoor, where in maybe 20 years' time, or maybe before then, he could be released. Of course, the parents of the 3 children, the 2 children that were murdered, the young people that were murdered, the girls that were murdered, and the caretaker who he killed as well, they will be up in arms and obviously disgruntled about that, and quite rightly so, in my opinion. There's been a lot of outcry recently and people shouting for the return of the death penalty. Well, death is instantaneous once you've dropped from the hangman's noose, and whilst it might be a cure to make sure they never do anything like that again, it isn't the punishment that we really think it is, although it would be leading up to the event. You're obviously going to suffer with a great deal of anguish as you prepare to meet your fate. But as I am a spiritualist, as you probably know, I don't believe that there is any death. I'm absolutely sure that there isn't. You can get a sneak preview of death if you go to the back streets of Toxteth, if you're interested. Not that I've got anything against Liverpool, I like Liverpool. Did loads of shows at the Liverpool Empire in my day, when I was an entrepreneur, which I'm not now. I'm just talking about my time in the prisons. And of course, in the prisons there's a big problem with mental health. A lot of the inmates in the prisons, I would say about 30%, are either illiterate, semi-literate, innumerate, and basically ill-prepared to deal with life in society. So they commit petty offences, usually theft and burglary, and end up in the prisons where the education system doesn't exist, really. It should do. The prisons should be absolutely educating these people and preparing them to return to society and be useful members of society, which, of course, the prisons don't do that. What they do is lock them up for 23 hours a day. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in a small room for like 2 or 3 hours. This is my office. It's full of junk, as you can see. The witch over there. It's the witch over there, yeah. That witch. The one on the next to the jukebox. That's from a haunted house in Liverpool, in Blackpool. One of these rides, when they dismantled it, I bought that off the people who ran it. There's loads of stuff in here. I think if you have a quick look, if you really want to have a look, yeah. Got a model of Batman there, a decapitated head, which I didn't do myself, by the way. There's a model of Norman Bates' mother as well. And Nosferatu, I've got Nosferatu in there. There's a warthog that's bitten the arm off somebody. A wild boar. That dates from 1878. It's French, actually. And there's a badger's head and a fox's head and all manner of stuff. It's just quite crazy. Do you want to see my raptor? I've got a raptor as well somewhere. It's up here, I believe. See if we can show you my raptor. Come on now, where is it? Oh, there we are. There's the raptor. Can you see it? Got the joker. A hand, a strange clock. That's the raptor. As you can see, it's chomped off the hand of the plumber. He fixed the taps, but they were still leaking, so I set the raptor on him. And there he is. That's what remains of him. Some ventriloquist dummies there. Another mysterious hand, Frankenstein, and a clock that dates from about 1890, 1900. Some strange stuff in here, but I'm talking about mental health, not my mental health, which is obviously suspect. Anybody who'd have an office like that has got to be suspicious, don't you think? But in the prisons, they don't tend to deal with people who are mentally incapacitated. They just stick them in the cells and lock the doors and leave them in. We had a case where a man he'd become paranoid, and he was obviously seriously ill. And what he'd done was he had gone into Manchester and started to burn down nightclubs because he said that they were being used by Satan to lead people away from Jesus. He was a Catholic clergyman, quite a senior Catholic clergyman, a theologian who'd been educated at Cambridge and had written numerous books on theology. And he'd got it into his head somehow, obviously he'd become mentally ill, and decided that the devil was using nightclubs as a recruiting ground. So he to liberate people from this, he decided to burn them down, which he did, a few of them in Manchester, and ended up in Strangeways. When he was perfectly normal, and he was perfectly normal at times, he was an absolute gentleman, but he was seriously mentally ill. He used to get copies of the Telegraph, because I used to let him read my Daily Telegraph that I used to read when I was working. Take it round. I used to give him the copy the day after when I'd finished with it, and he used to urinate on the pages and wallpaper his walls when he was gone. Anyway, the Catholic Church came in they sent some psychiatrists in to evaluate him before sentence, because he was remanded at Strangeways, and he was in the hospital unit where we kept him in a stripped cell because he was really likely to injure himself. And so they sent psychiatrists to evaluate him. And a strange story about this, because when they came two psychiatrists arrived, and I was in charge of the landings, so I had to take this particular prisoner, this Catholic theologian, over to see the psychiatrist, and I took him into the room and introduced him to the psychiatrist and sat him, and he was in a perfectly normal phase at that time. And so I got the certificate. Would you like a coffee? Yeah, they had coffee, And so I asked the prisoner, who was a remanded prisoner, the theologian, if he would like a coffee as well, because it came to my mind that if I only got the coffee for the psychiatrist, it placed him in an invidious position. It kind of undermined his confidence. So I got 3 cups of coffee, gave him one, and gave the psychiatrist a coffee each, and left them to it. I just waited outside the room in case things deteriorated, which from time to time with this particular inmate they did. And he had to be gripped. So that's what I was there for. Anyway, when I'd finished this and the psychiatrists had seen him and done their personal evaluation of his problems, they thanked me very much, went on their way, and I returned the man to his stripped cell and accommodated him in that particular location, locked the door, and then I got a phone call from my hospital chief officer, report to me immediately. So I went to see him, and he said, on whose authority have you been giving prisoners cups of coffee from our canteen? I said, well, I did it because if I hadn't done that, it would have undermined his position. And I was trying to give him some confidence by including him in the coffee. You don't give prisoners coffee in this establishment. That's our coffee. Oh, well, a load of nonsense. So the problem is that even the hospital staff did not understand that you have to treat people with mental illness with respect, because if you don't, things will deteriorate and their condition will be, they're undermining their confidence. And surely I believed that as a hospital officer, it was my duty to encourage and to enable the people who were so incapacitated, because it is a real incapacity. This guy was not intending to be mad. He was just temporarily insane. Anyway, he was sectioned off and taken to some kind of psychiatric unit provided by the Catholic Church. And I believe he came out okay in the end, but who really knows? Now, it's that time of day, folks. Don't forget, like and subscribe. That's a song dinger, by the way. But today I've decided to do a rather strange poem by John Cooper Clarke. Now, I like John Cooper Clarke, but I've been writing poems like Cooper Clarke since before John Cooper Clarke was around. Like going back to when I was a teenager, about 11 I started, and I'm still writing poems. I've recited some on here. You can find them in the back catalogue. And there's almost 1,000 videos here, so if you're interested, have a look through, you'll find some of them. But this poem is dedicated to somebody that I worked with at Strangeways. I called him Fat Fred. He was a particularly obnoxious character, a Freemason who exploited his position in the Masons to the very best of his ability, which wasn't very good because he didn't have much of ability. But I called him Fat Fred, and you can read about him in the second volume of my stories on HM prisons. This poem is dedicated to him, and I'll tell you the title of the title of the poem is The Last Word. So this is dedicated to Fat Fred. And you can see him on that BBC documentary. He sat on my left in the in Series 3 of the Strangeways documentary. He sat on my left in the canteen as we discuss the formation of a breakaway trade union, and he's making some obsequious remarks. This is a poem dedicated to Fat Fred. Like a nightclub in the morning, you're the bitter end. Like a recently disinfected shithouse, you're clean round the bend. You give me the horrors, too bad to be true. All of my tomorrows are lousy 'cause of you. You put the shat in shatter, put the pain in Spain. Your germs are splattered about, your face is just a stain. You're certainly no raver, commonly known as a drag. Do us all a favour, here, wear this polythene bag. You like a dose of scabies, I've got you under my skin. You make life a fairy tale, grim. People mention murder, The moment you arrive, I'd consider killing you if I thought you were alive. You got this slippery quality. It makes me think of phlegm and a dual personality. I hate both of them. Your bad breath vamps disease, destruction and decay. Please, 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 please take yourself away. Like a death at a birthday party, you ruin all the fun. Like a sucked and spat out smarty, you're no use to anyone. Like the shadow of the guillotine on a dead consumptive's face. Speaking as an outsider, what do you think of the human race? You went to a progressive psychiatrist. He recommended suicide before scratching your bad name off his list and pointing the way outside. You hear laughter breaking through. It makes you want to shit. You're heading for a breakdown. Better pull yourself apart. Your dirty name gets passed around when something goes amiss. Your attitudes and platitudes just make me want to piss. What kind of a creature bore you? Was it some kind of bat? They don't have a good word for you, but I do. Twat. That was by John Cooper Clarke. I sincerely hope you enjoyed that. It was dedicated to Fat Fred, a thoroughly obnoxious creep. And I believe people here have told me that they've encountered him on the landings of Strangeways, and he was a destructive element who would set the inmates up for disciplinary charges and lie before the governor to get them charged. So he was a nasty, horrible individual, and I believe he's still around. So if you're out there, Fat Fred, and you're watching this, in my opinion, mate, you are a twat. Tales from the jails.